It used to be that if you got to a certain stage in life and you were married, you could reasonably expect that you would be married for the rest of your life. So once you get beyond that 25, 30-year mark, if you're still together, well, probably chances are you would remain together. That is not the case any longer. Something has changed significantly in our society that disrupts marriages that otherwise would have remained intact. The number of people experiencing gray divorce has skyrocketed since 1990. It used to be that only about 8% of people experienced divorce or went through a divorce after the age of 50, after 25, 30 years of marriage. Today, that number is approaching 50%. In fact, it is the fastest growing segment in our society of people getting divorced. So today, we're going to get into gray divorce, figure out what's going on, why is this happening to us now, and is there anything else we can do about it? This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. If you've ever been in a long-term relationship with a woman, you're probably familiar with the menstrual cycle. It causes their personalities to change for a period of time every single month. Well, if you've been through a pregnancy with a woman, you have a better understanding of the way hormones affect their personality and how they can change significantly, and how at the end of pregnancy, they can be very sweet and loving and just wonderful people, despite the fact that they're very emotional. But then after that baby comes, their personalities change significantly. That estrogen and progesterone levels just crash. Actually, I think the estrogen levels crash and the progesterone levels maybe go up a bit. But nevertheless, there's a huge shift in their personality. Well, at menopause, it happens again. And there are two kinds of women. There are women who recognize that they're experiencing huge changes in their personality and their lifestyle and the way their lives during menopause. And there are those who don't realize they're experiencing it. Those who don't realize they're experiencing it are probably the most dangerous because they think everything is fine. Those women have probably been on birth control most of their lives and they've been mechanically affecting their hormone levels. And so the fluctuations of up and down don't seem to come into their awareness. Even though they're experiencing hot flashes and all that stuff, they don't realize what it's doing to their personalities and their disposition. But it changes them. Their estrogen levels drop, their progesterone levels drop, and their testosterone levels drop. And all these hormone drops cause them to be more moody, less regulated, less affectionate, less nurturing, less sexual. And it causes a crisis in the minds of most women. Now, those women who are aware of what they're going through and what they're experiencing have at least a fighting chance to figure it out. But those women who don't have any clue at all that they're experiencing these things or that these forces are impacting them in significant ways, those are the ones you need to watch out for. That was my wife. She had no clue what she was going through. And she became a much less enjoyable person to be around for quite a while. Statistics show that 37% of all divorces today are involving someone age 50 or more. In 1990, only 8% of divorces involved someone over age 50. So why is that different now? Now, obviously, we can point to the internet and other things like that, but the external factors in our world are significantly different. People are just generally less happy today than they were in the past because of a lot of external factors. I mean, certainly social media plays a huge role. That fear of missing out, the external validation, all of that stuff plays a huge role in especially women becoming dissatisfied with their lives. But the general tenor of our existence these days involves a level of stress that it did not involve back in 1990. Now, we could argue that perhaps it has to do with income disparity, wealth disparity, that kind of thing, and that's certainly a possibility. We could certainly argue that the news networks are divisive and the algorithms are pushing us to the extremes, and that's certainly a possibility too. But you know, there's always been some stressor in our lives that has created the excuse for us to be less civil, less loving, less kind, less cooperative in our lives. And there always will be. Like, we'll never, as human beings, have a time, an era, where everything is just peaceful and rainbows and unicorns. That's not the way life works. We're not going to have that. So the problem is not external. Even though we like to point to the external factors and say, that's got to be the problem. It's internal. It always has been and it always will be. The problem when it comes to marriage and in relationships is that you need to have both people with the same understanding of what the problem is in order for there to be a solution. As we get older and we go through these periods of transition, becoming empty nesters, having our children grow up and move out, it's very easy to feel that sense of disruption in your life and to think that things aren't not the way they should be because they are different than the way they were. And just because something is different than the way it was doesn't mean that it's not the way that it should be in this moment. That sense of dissatisfaction, that sense of that itch to move, to change, to do something is normal and natural. It's a pull to the future. It's a pull to what lies next, what comes next. And making some changes in your life, in the direction of your life, is probably a good thing at this point because you have gone through this phase of 18 to 25 years of raising children, and now you're back to being a normal couple again. There's opportunities here for growth and experience and closeness and all that, except that it coincides with midlife crisis and this menopause. I remember when I was a teenager, I thought, man, women have it so easy. But I'll tell you what, now that I'm 60 years old, I am glad. I wake up every day just happy as I can be that I am born a man and not a woman. Women at this age, they're really kind of getting the shitty end of the stick. When they're young, yeah, they've got all the advantages. They get all the attention. They're like little stars, little celebrities in life, especially if they're attractive. They get lots and lots of attention from men, but they wake up one day, maybe it's in their 40s or in their 50s, and suddenly that attention isn't occurring quite as often. Suddenly, it's almost like they're invisible. And I can only imagine psychologically how's it got to screw with your head. That's got to be very, very tough for a woman to come to terms with, where nothing has really changed about her except that she is now older. And her value as a human being, from a certain perspective, is now less than it was 20 years earlier. That's got to be really tough for them to deal with. Now you throw on top of that all these hormonal changes, the estrogen dropping, making them moody, forgetful, fuzzy-headed, the progesterone, they're less likely to have an even keel, they're less likely to be organized and, nurturing. And then the testosterone, the sex drive is gone altogether. And things all dry up. You know what I'm talking about, guys? Yeah, sex hurts. They don't enjoy it at all anymore. Yeah, there has got to be just like some kind of a dirty trick that was played on them. Now, the dirty trick was played on us when we were 16, okay? Let's just to be fair. We got the zits, we got the big feet, we haven't grown into our bodies yet. We have it all. We had our tough time of it way back when. And they were smoking hot back then. They wanted nothing to do with us. But now, it's the other way around. Now we're the stars. Now we're the ones that getting all the attention, and they're not. And I can only imagine how that's got to really mess them up psychologically. So let's have just a tiny bit of compassion for them because they're really going through some tough stuff here. But that need for external validation does not go away so easily. That need for male attention does not go away so easily. And so when they start feeling that withdrawal, with they've lost their specialness, they want to regain it in some way. And this is where the danger factor occurs in relationships, is that women, as they're approaching that menopause, they become perimenopausal or they are actually going through menopause, they start thinking that they're going to find someone who can validate them sexually, emotionally, someone who will help them feel like a celebrity again. And so they'll start looking outside of themselves. Women in their 40s are the group that are probably most likely to cheat. There's a huge number of opportunities that they have at that age because they've been married for a long time. You probably trust her implicitly. You're not checking her phone. You're not worried about where she's going. But she, at this stage in the game, is probably more likely to cheat on you than at any other time. This time in a woman's life, I can only characterize it as temporary insanity. It's a time when they lose track of what's really important and they start taking what they have for granted. And you, as the husband, as the partner in this relationship at this time, are going to get the brunt of it. You're going to have to deal with a lot of difficult situations, a lot of crap, a lot of negative energy coming your way. This is when divorces happen, because she's going to be in a bad place psychologically and emotionally, and she's going to be looking for some way to validate herself. And if you don't take some kind of action to interrupt this pattern, she is going to leave you very, very quickly. Unfortunately for her and for you, this upheaval is going to be an emotionally, physically, psychologically and financially disruptive experience, and it's going to blow up your lives. And then 5 or 10 years later, she's going to wish she hadn't done it. 5 or 10 years later, she's going to come to the idea that perhaps she was wrong the entire time, that she had been taking you for granted, that she had made a big mistake. But there's no way to convince her of that while she's going through it. I don't care what you say, how passionately you say it, it's very, very unlikely that she's going to change her thoughts on this topic, because she's going to have friends around her that are going to be filling her head with a lot of the same bullshit that they believed about their own divorce. And they have gone through it already, and they're going to be pushing her to do exactly the same thing. Based on what I've seen on the internet and what I've gotten from my own ex-wife, I like to give a message to women who are going through this spell in their lives, where you're dealing with menopause and you're seeing all these changes and you're feeling all these sensations of dissatisfaction in your life. Let me just give you this little bit of warning. You don't know what you've got until it's gone. And then once it's gone, it's impossible to get it back. Even if he ever did take you back, and most men will not do that, I can guarantee you this: your relationship will never be the same again. What you had is gone. It's destroyed. I liken it to firing a gun. Once that bullet leaves the barrel of that gun, whatever happens after that is happening. It cannot be undone. And when you walk out the door and you leave your family, you leave your husband behind, or you kick him out, or you destroy you upheaval your relationship, you upturn your relationship, there's no way to get that back again. You have destroyed what was there. And your husband will move forward, and he will find a new path. And he'll do so without you. When you get 25 or 30 years into a marriage, you really think you've hit the soft spot, like you've made it through. And now it's just a matter of enjoying life. The 2 rocking chairs on the porch. You've got the whole idea in your head. You've made it through the rough spots. You can finally relax. Unfortunately, nothing could be further from the truth. She's going through some things that you're probably not going to be aware of until it's too late. Psychologically, emotionally, biologically, she's changing in ways that are going to impact your life without warning. And you're not going to understand it. And if you point out to her that it might be menopause that's causing this, it's very likely she's going to push back and push back hard. She's not going to take that as an excuse. She's just going to think that's the way she is, that she's changing the way she thinks, that she's changing the way she feels, not just about you, but about her whole life, the way she feels about herself. And if you are the one that is standing there, and you are the one that is sharing this life with her, and she's unhappy with her life, I promise you, you're going to be the one that gets the blame for it. And that's why gray divorces are on the rise. And that's why probably going forward, they're going to continue to be on the rise. That there's no way to prevent this. And so as a man, I don't know what to tell you. Try to get her on some kind of hormone replacement therapy. That might be able to help you a little bit. Get her in front of a counselor. That might help you a little bit. But once she makes that decision that she's leaving, it's going to be a very tough road for you. One of the wonderful things about living in this area is you get to see the seasons change. And with every new season comes a new landscape and something new to appreciate about nature in general. And the cycles of the seasons are really a great way to see the cycles in your life. And each chapter goes through the same kinds of things, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And even though each year ends with a winter and it is cold there for a while and it's not quite as beautiful as the spring, it does bring with it the promise of a new spring. So keep that in mind, that as your relationship comes to an end, it's just a seasonal change, and that a new season will begin and a new spring will come. And when it does, there will be new life, and there will be new things to enjoy, and there will be wonderful opportunities for you to enrich your life in ways that you never imagined before. So don't allow the fact that you're going through this difficult time right now be the defining moment for the rest of your life, because it's just one chapter. End it gracefully if you can, but close that chapter in your mind and move on. Carrying a grudge and holding a lot of negative energy associated with it is not going to benefit you in the long run. You just need to let it go and move on. All right, you guys, that's all I got for you today. I certainly hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like and subscribe. If you know someone who's dealing with a woman who's going through menopause, please share this video with them. It may give them some ideas about how to handle the situation and maybe what they can do moving forward. Anyway, till next time, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.